Emily Garrick, Matthew Peterson,
Present.
Angela Blazey, Joanne Lungreen,
Present.
Skip Altick,
Present.
Cindy O'Connor.
Present.
Second.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blazey, Joanne Lungreen,
Aye.
Skip Altick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick. Angela Blazey, Joanne Lungreen, Skip Altick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick, Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I nominate Joanne Lundgren.
Second.
We have 5 for Mrs. Lungreen and 1 for Mr. Altick.
I nominate Emily Garrick for Vice President.
I second that.
Second.
I have 4 for Mrs. Garrick and 1 for Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, that is one. Which one we would go like?
Oh,
You had 5 for.
I mean, I guess we have to have 4 to.
I'm sorry, 5 for Emily and 1 for Matt.
4 passes, but
Math was never my.
somebody could have left it. Somebody could have left it open.
And now we will take nominations for the board.
I nominate Cindy O'Connor.
And we'll take a written vote. And we have it unanimously for Mrs. O'Connor. Congratulations. Oh my goodness.
Joanne, do you want your paper clip? Well, for your little papers.
Now we will, I would entertain a motion to appoint Stuart Simpson, the Executive Director of Finance, as the ex-officio of the treasurer.
I would move to appoint Stuart Simpson, the Executive Director of Finance, Facilities and Operating of Public School.
Second.
Joanne Lingreen. Aye. Skip Altick.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Emily Garrick. Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
And now I would entertain a motion.
Second.
Skip Altick.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Emily Garrick. Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
John Lingreen. And I failed to mention, the one was where it got passed and it's like an offer to. And now, I would entertain a motion to appoint Simpson as the fiscal agent.
I move to appoint Stuart Simpson as the fiscal agent for North Platte Public Schools.
I second.
Okay, who won?
You, sir.
Okay, Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick, Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blazy,
Aye.
Joanne Lingreen, Skip Altick.
Aye.
No, so, yeah, your son, I would, entertain a motion to appoint Matt Pearson as the board of liaison for the, North Platte Public Schools.
I move to appoint Matt Peterson as the liaison from the board for the North Platte Public Schools Foundation.
I second.
We'll have a vote.
Emily Garrick, Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blazy,
Aye.
Joanne Lingreen,
Aye.
Skip Altick.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
I am recommending that we appoint Cindy O'Connor, Skip Altick, and Angela Blaze. Maybe on that.
Would do, to the recommendation of board president to appoint City O'Connor to qualify for the honor.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blazy,
Aye.
Joanne Lingreen,
Aye.
Skip Altick.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick.
So, that's the board of education under for, 2024. The regular meeting of the North Platte Public Schools Board of Education will be on the second Monday of each month at the County Education Summit. And it will be the fire school. And I'm on.
To approve the meeting calendar for the 2024 regular meetings, second Monday of each month at 5:30.
I second.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Joanne Lingreen, Skip Altick.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick, Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Now, this will, review and then we adopt the board. And on their policies and institution, and help with that.
I would move to readopt Board of Conduct and Ethics Policy number 2012.
Second.
Ready?
Yeah, I am doing it.
Joanne Lingreen, Skip Altick.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick, Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
And if I may interject just real quickly, the three different forms for conflict of interest with NADC are also attached to this agenda tonight as well. And of course, if we have something come up down the road where we have conflict of interest, we'll get you a hard copy as well. But you can always reference this January agenda as well. We can get the signature for the code, the board code. Yeah, we can do a signature on that.
Okay, now we are to the communications portion of our meeting and, we have a special presentation by our principal, Mr. and
Well, it's been an awesome start to the second semester, and we're going to cap it off by recognizing two amazing students tonight for Bulldogs of the Month. Tonight we have Mr. Cooper Liebhart and Miss Sydney Hatch. So I'll invite Cooper up here real quick to do his presentation.
Hi, my name is Cooper Liebhart. Both my parents here, Mike and Christy Liebhart. I have participated in a couple things during my high school career. I have been on the swim team all 4 years. I'm also in pre-med club, and I was in band for the past 3 years besides this year. I have received academic all-conference twice for swimming. Probably my favorite high school experience has been going to state swimming for the past 3 years. Next year, I plan to attend Nebraska Wesleyan University to study biology. I will also be a part of their swim team. After college, I plan to attend medical school and become an anesthesiologist.
Great.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sydney Hatch. Both my parents are here today, Karen and David Hatch. Over high school, I have participated in swim team all 3 years and this year as well. I've also been a class officer my junior year and my senior year. And I've been on the 4.0 honor roll for all 4 years of high school. One of my favorite high school experiences was getting to go to state swim and making it to the finals for my junior year in the 4x1 relay and then breaking the record. Next year, I plan to study biology and then later become a dentist.
It should be there now. Well, I couldn't do that and this at the same time.
Well, I know, I understand that.
I got it. Well, and I should have got on there the first time. There now. There now. I gotta figure out where those calendars went. I was screwing around. I know, but I apparently can't count.
Test.
Okay, yeah.
It's quiet there for a minute.
Test. You can use mine while we're doing that one. No, and all of a sudden it just went and we're sort of like struggling.
Test.
I'll invite Terry Burchell up now for the foundation report and staff recognitions.
Good evening. Hope all of you had a happy holidays. It's always good to be back. Reach Grants took a 3-week break during those holidays. On December 14th, we were able to award Mr. Willie at the high school funding for a well-thought addition to not only his classes, but also to Mrs. McDaniel's. So we're excited to see how that progresses. Students are going to experience screenwriting, acting, and then directing short films. And hopefully we'll be able to do a premiere at the Fox Theater. But all else fails, they will be submitting all of those to festivals as they usually do. So we're excited about that. From September to December, we've been able to award over $10,000 in Reach Grants across the district. We'll be returning this Thursday, giving another Reach Grant out. So stay tuned to KNOP to watch for that news. Year-end giving was truly a blessing this year. Our goal was 35,000 and we exceeded that to 36, a little over 36,000 to help the foundation with the many programs that we offer, especially the food pantry for student services and those types of things. So it was truly an exciting year, and I want to thank the community and alumni for stepping up and supporting us. Last week, our Class Act Scholarship Committee met, and the scholarships are given and awarded to district employees and not necessarily the teachers, but we had a lot of paras also apply for those. Those are funded through our Pay Green to Wear Blue campaign, along with Mr. Peaks's Memorial Fund helped with that this year as well. And so we saw the most applications that we've seen since I've been here for 3 years, and even some of the board members that have been with the foundation a little longer. So it was exciting to see that. We had over $37,000 worth of requests. We were able to award 8,800 and to 16 different employees across the district. So they all got that news today. So that's always fun to do that. The foundation is always excited to showcase the district employees. So last but not least, Prairie Friends and Flowers and Grandels Construction partnered with us for December Employee of the Month. We happened to surprise both of these individuals on the last day. So it was pajama day before break. So they were real excited to see us walk through the doors. We started at McDonald. If Miss Tamron Burrell would please stand for a moment, and Mrs. Flanders, if you would come up, please. Ask you to speak about her.
Did you read the nomination? Yes. Great. Okay. Get my cheaters in. All right, it's my pleasure to get to read a nomination from an esteemed colleague at McDonald Elementary. The person that I'd like to nominate is the most selfless person I know. She arrives at school every day with a smile on her face and shares her warm, welcoming, positive attitude with everyone who walks into the school. Even during the chaos of the remodeling project, she was a master of organization and efficiency, whether she was working here at the school or remotely. In addition to her regular duties, she's never too busy to answer hundreds of questions every day, relay messages to the teachers and the kids, keep track of schedules and time cards, unjam laminators and copy machines, care for sick kids, share her space as a calm down spot for a student who just needs a break, or to step in to cover lunch or recess duties. She knows every student and their parents by name, and she treats each and every one with kindness, compassion, and the utmost respect. She is the calm in any storm that arises, and she accepts any challenge that presents itself. This amazing woman is the unsung hero of McDonald School, Tamron Barrow.
For a moment. Thank you.
Yes,
Mrs. Flanders.
thank you.
And would Mrs. Pam Tillman please stand? Pam Tillman. And aside.
Hello, I'm back again. I'm so excited that I have another person from my school. What do we want from a teacher? We want them to be loving, kind, patient, fair, and passionate about what they do. Pam Tillman is all of those things and more. She makes students feel heard. She challenges students not only to be their best student, but the best person they can be. Lake Maloney would not be the school that we are without Miss Tillman, and the kids love her, and so do I.
Congratulations. If they both come forward and get a photo with the board.
Nope.
All right, we'll move on now to the board comments portion of our meeting. And I'd like to just start off by thanking the board for taking the time to meet with me over the last few weeks, I guess it's been, that I've been able to meet with each of you and have some conversations about things that we could be doing better and things that we're doing great at. And so I'm hopeful that as we move forward with our new leadership team, that we'll be able to continue to help the school district grow and just keep getting better. So I'll entertain any other comments at this time.
Well, on November 12th, I attended the 7th and 8th grade choir, band, and orchestra, swing choir, concert, all of that. I was held at the PAC, which was a good thing because there was no way Mr. Spadansky was there. You know, there was no way they could have all fit into Adams that day at all. What I was really impressed with was the growth in all of those areas, especially the 7th graders, because that's my granddaughter's 7th grader, how they have grown from last year at Madison in those areas to how they are this year. I mean, it was like night and day difference on what they could do, whether it was orchestra or band or choir or the swing choir. Very enjoyable. There's a lot of talent that we have there. Big thanks to Mrs. Weatherly, Mr. Stoner, and Mr. Baxter for all they do at Adams Middle School. But it was very impressive. I also attended numerous 7th grade girls basketball games in November and December. And again, what I was impressed with there, not the talent necessarily of the girls, but I was impressed with the coaching staff they have. Mr. Watkins and Mrs. Kaminsky are so good with those students. And one girl, the last game of the year, made a basket. She hadn't made one all year. And she broke down in tears of joy. And they both went over and she was happy that it happened. And they were so good with her. And I was just how good those coaches were with these girls. And some of them don't have a lot of skill or they don't, practice that. But again, just shows what great people we have running those two extracurricular activities, our music at Adams, and I know our music at the high school, and then our coaching at Adams. I was just really impressed with them.
All right, anyone else?
How'd your singing go, Matt?
Luckily, the kids were so cute that no one paid attention. But no, it was great. Marta does such a good job with those kids. And I was at the late concert, and I know that other schools did some as well, and it's a lot of fun. So they did a great job.
Okay, so we will move on to the consent agenda. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Most of the items listed under the consent agenda have gone through board subcommittee review and recommendation. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. I would also like to point out that this month, the financial claims and reports were conducted by myself and Angela Blasey. And we had a very nice meeting with Stuart and Janelle, and they were able to answer, I think, pretty much all of our questions. So I'll entertain a motion.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. And that passes. So now we will move on to the staffing update.
Yes.
Mr. Mills.
Yes. Okay, now.
Good evening, President Lundgren, Vice President Garrick, and Cindy O'Connor, Secretary. Congratulations. Happy New Year to everyone. the most exciting news is we have 0 resignations. And the most exciting news, we have 2 hires. So could not be more pleased with getting one of those science jobs completed. And obviously we got Haley coming in as an elementary teacher as well. We have I looked at today across Nebraska, there's over 1,000 plus jobs teaching. They're coming open every day over and over and over. We're knocking down the ones that we have. We still have an offer out for the orchestra position. I've contacted that individual. We'll get back with her in a couple of weeks. So still working on that. And then I wanted to give the board an update on our AD assistant principal. We have 2 internal applicants and 6 external. And so we'll start setting up interviews for that position very, very soon. We want to keep it open long enough, knowing there's a lot of positions out there and make sure we grab the best candidates possible. And then also want to give the board an update on the para-teacher program that we've been working with. That is all set to go. Those students actually started today with Shadron. And just so you know of our process, we had the ability to pick 15. We had one that was unable to commit to it. So we used our alternate and put that back there. So we're right back at 15. So we have a good relationship with Dr. King and Shadron State College. So really excited to see those individuals, and we'll start working with them and set them up with mentors as well. Questions?
Just to comment, I'm sure Mr. Peterson's involved in this, but I'm appreciating the social media bios for each of the teachers or the parents.
Brandon Peterson.
It's cool to see that. Give our community an opportunity to put a face to those names.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah, Brandon's done a really nice job of releasing those every couple of days. We really love that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll move on to the monthly financial and budget report. Stuart.
Let me share my screen here. Move closer. All right. First of all, I want to say thank you very much for your vote tonight. I appreciate that. I'll continually work as to help shore up the finances of the district. Second of all, for Cindy and Joanne, we'll have to work with our financial software to get your digital signatures so that it go on the checks, and I'll work with Nebraska Land to get the documents changed over too. So just to be aware down the road, as soon as I get that information, I will be communicating it out to both of you. So first of all, on page 1, you can see the enrollment from September or October 1 that we take. That's the official, to the ending enrollment on 12/31/23. And really it's 12/31, but I took it as of the first day of school, 1/8, because they graduate our seniors out as of the end of December, around the 7th of January. So I want to make sure I can reflect that information to you too, so that you can see where we stand with our enrollment, especially on our senior side. Second of all, on page 2, page 4, you're going to see the swing in elementary enrollment. High school, as well as 6 through 8, sort of is stable, but where we see the most swing as far as our enrollment is concerned is our elementary K-5, where you can see back in 1920 where it was at around, we'll just say 1750 for discussion purposes. As it swings down, it's starting to come back up in 23, 24. So it's always a positive sign to see what's happening at our elementary enrollment, as well as when you go back to the second page, you can sort of see that our elementary enrollment, at least at this point in time, is stable. And hopefully within the next 4 months, we'll see that increase going along to counteract some of our early graduates that we had at the high school, which happened last year. So we continually monitor that. Page 5 really is a quick look at our budget for North Platte Public Schools, identifying all the funds that we established back in September, and then where we're standing percentage wise. From that, we should be at 33.3%. And so some of them varies. Obviously, ESSERs, we want to get those expended, as well as some of the other grants that we have out there. But for the most part, we are sitting right in line with where we are. And we'll look at the cash flow grant as we move forward. My next one is trying to maneuver through this. On the screen, I had it in my document, and then I wanted to add one item on there. So I have a separate document in there for my asset allocation. I really like this. It shows where our cash is. Since we consolidate our cash, you can see where everything is for the last 5 years, plus what our general fund payroll and bills are. But then I added a graph at the bottom, and this will be incorporated into next month. But for this month, I had to add an additional sheet for you. But it can just show you where we were in sort of a more of a visual presentation of where our assets were 5 years ago to where we have moved now. And then also I reflect where our total bills are in the general fund, which sort of is flat, so to speak. So just to give you an idea of where we are in a more visual perspective. Then if we go to the normal cash flow, which is basically changes in our revenue to expense in the general fund only, this aligns with where we have been in the last, I want to say 4 years, but really overlays where we were last year as far as our collections are concerned. Just to remind you, school districts in general rely upon their cash reserves. During those low periods of collections, December collections, which will be paid in January, is a little bit higher than normal. And then obviously then when we get down to May and June, we'll get large collection of property taxes to then pull it back into line. But during that period of time, we do rely upon reserves until we get more of the dollars coming in. Schedule 1, I call it my schedule 1. I just love it. But you can see where the receipts are. You can see where the disbursements are for all the funds, as well as the excess deficiencies of receipts over or under disbursements, which you can see in that column are basically a statement of changes in revenue to expense, and then where all of our cash or fund balance is. And then finally, I usually include this on my monthly financial report, which you can look back in the minutes, but I really wanted to just give you sort of a lot of numbers, but it really will tell you where we have been with, we'll just say like property taxes. 5 years ago, we were at 1.4. Currently, we're at 1.4. So property taxes have not changed on us. Same way with, you can look at the change or fluctuation in state aid or total revenue. And then you can look at either a breakdown for salaries, which I use to drive my financial reports, or based upon the discipline area such as instruction, SPED, or guidance. You can see where we're expending our dollars accordingly. And then obviously the final one, and I call it net income from an accountant standpoint, but really it's the statement of changes from revenue to expense and where it's been the previous years to where it is now. So that just gives you a really quick idea of that. Questions in regards to my financial report?
So
Go ahead.
I don't have a question about the financial report. I just wanted to note for the public that we did last month, we had talked about getting early graduation information, and we had asked for a 5-year trend, and Dr. Rhodes did get that to us in one of his dates in December. And so just a note, in 1819, we had 39 early graduates, 1920, 56 early graduates, 2021, 74, 21, 22, 64, and 22, 23, 57 early graduates. So for the most part, other than we had a little bit of a jump in between 1819 and 1920, it's been staying fairly steady. And I can only imagine probably some of the 2021 maybe is a little bit COVID related. So it's interesting to see that trend and just to kind of know where we're at. So.
I just wanted to mention one more thing in regards to my financial report. It's also budget. And I just want to remind the board, number one, we're going to get more data from NDE probably closer to the end of this month, which will really be able to communicate our state aid where we're going to be for next year. And then, looking at our budget calendar that we have, by the end of this month, first of next, we're going to start rolling data over and start prepping for the 24-25 school year. So.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the legislative update and I guess Todd, Stewart, or Skip, whoever wants to start.
Okay, all of us talk a little bit in regards to legislation, but I'm just going to give the highlights because there's not a lot going on in the legislature right now. We can talk about bills, but for the most part, we're watching them. But just a reminder, the legislature started on January 3rd. On January 17th is the final bill introduction date. And then on January 19th, for myself, I'll be going down to NCSA for a legislative review meeting. I'm on a committee for the Nebraska Council of School Administrators. I've been on that. I think this is my 4th year, and we'll be getting an update. We get one a year, and then I know Skip gets it almost weekly, which is a little bit more helpful in the process. And then Dr. Rhodes and myself have to monitor that, what's going on. The last day is April 18th, and that's all I have right now.
Actually, yes, my first committee meeting was today from 10 to 11:30 on Zoom, thank goodness. Because some of the people that were on there were talking about how the snow was by an inch an hour outside their windows. First of all, they are not going to hold any hearings until January 22nd. Hearings on any of the bills till January 22nd. Now, again, as Stuart talked about, this is only a 60-day session. What they're going to be dealing with up till then are not only introduction of the bills till the 17th, but also the rule changes that the speaker wants to implement. So that's what's going to take up the time. As of this moment, after today, there are 45 bills introduced so far this session that would somehow affect education. That does not include the other 45 bills that are still held over from last year. So what will happen, how many of them get through hearings and then make it to the floor, will be anybody's guess. We'll have a lot better idea after they do start the hearings, because the hearings really give you an idea of which ones they want to get to the floor. In my hour-and-a-half meeting, we got through 15 of them today is all. So, but we meet every Monday while they're in session. So every month I will have a report like this. I won't go through all the things that we discussed today. If you want to, you can talk to me about it, but it would take up an hour to talk about all these bills. So, but it will be interesting again.
Do we know if any of those are marked as priority bills at this point?
Nope. Okay. Not yet.
Dr. Rhodes, do you have anything to add?
Well, no, not really. I think, you have 6 days left for introduction of bills. I think with holdover bills and with new introductions that we've had the past 4 days, I think we're at about 500 bills right now. And so I don't know what that looks like for the next 6 days, but you'll have bill introductions. Most of the legislative session as it relates to introduction, those 10 days are not full days necessarily. The other thing that's happening right now is rules hearings are going on. And I can't remember a legislative session where we've had so many suggested rule changes. And of course, Speaker Arch is kind of the driver of that. I think there were 13 of those today that took place during the hearing. So we'll monitor those things a little bit. Obviously, those would have to go to the floor eventually after they go through exec council. So I wouldn't anticipate major changes with that, but nonetheless, we always watch the legislature very, very closely. We've said this before. This district has a very, very good relationship with Senator Jacobson. He's an advocate for education and certainly an advocate for North Platte Public Schools, and we'll just continue to monitor closely and advocate any way that we can.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to the action items. We'll start with designating the depositories for North Platte Public School District's funds. One of the annual ministerial duties of the Board of Education is to approve depositories for the school district's funds. Generally, we recommend approving every financial institution in North Platte, even though we don't necessarily invest funds in them. And I'll let Stuart talk to that a little bit.
What we really try to do is identify all the financial institutions around the district. You can see that on the designation of depositories for school districts. In that, all of our financial assets right now are located at Nebraska Land Bank. But pending something would happen down the road, which has been here in North Platte years ago. But if something would happen, we do have the ability of moving to another financial institution. But that just gives all of our options open. Second of all, we do receive letters from various ones just to put them on their list. So we honor those requests accordingly.
Move to approve the designated depositories, North Platte Public School District funds as presented.
I second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, Sheila?
Aye.
Aye.
Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Joanne Landry.
Aye.
Skip Ballard.
Aye.
And it passes. So now we will move on to designating a law firm to provide our school district with legal counsel. And I am recommending that we designate KSB School Law as the attorneys authorized to provide our legal counsel. I entertain a motion.
I would move to designate the law firm of KSB School Law as the attorneys authorized to provide school district with legal counsel.
Second.
Any discussion?
Em-
Roll call.
Oh, Emily Garrick.
Aye.
Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Joanne Landry.
Aye.
Skip Baltic.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
And I will now talk about designating an official district newspaper of record. And I'm going to turn some time over to Dr. Rhodes.
So Emily reached out over the weekend, or I guess it was last week actually, and requested that we get some information from the bulletin. In the past, the Telegraph has been our paper of record where we put all our legals in and of course our minutes and those different types of things. And if I say this wrong, George, make sure you correct me. I want to say that we're at 45 cents a line with the bulletin. And when we went back and kind of done the math on some of our past bills with the Telegraph, I think we're at about 52 cents with the Telegraph per line. Now, remember, we talked about this a little bit at last year's January meeting, that at this time last year, the Telegraph was a daily paper. And of course, since then, they've kind of moved back into 3 days a week, I believe. So, you know, the cost is going to be fairly comparative. It's going to be commiserate. I don't know. I think columns in the bulletin are 1.5 inches. From what I gathered, it looks like the Telegraph may be just a hair wider than that. So you might get a few more few more letters on a line in the Telegraph. So very comparative. If I say this wrong, Sheila, make sure you correct me. But I believe that when we looked at the publication for a meeting, we're at about, I want to say about $56. Does that sound right?
For the notice of the meeting.
Just for the notice.
It actually is usually a little bit
Less than
it's like
that?
25, 30.
Okay.
It's the claims that.
Yeah, whenever we put the claims in and then of course the minutes, that's where you get the kind of the bigger dollars. So, on any given month, we're probably looking in the range of 300, 350, right around in there, just for the Telegraph, just to give you an idea of where we're at. The Open Meetings Act has not changed in terms of our requirement, in terms of the timeliness with which we publicize our meetings and our notices. That has not changed. It has not moved to electronic, although you might see a bill come up this session that allows us to do that. So, I still think a weekly paper versus the 3 days a week is something for you to consider a little bit. But speaking just purely in terms of cost, pretty comparative overall.
We know what the circulation numbers look like. I mean, one of the things we're looking at is trying to reach the widest audience.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I don't. And we can sure get that information for the board.
Just from a lot of people that have reached out to me, they've all canceled their Telegraph lately because it's gone up and circulation has gone down. I've found a lot of people from my ward who have reached out, who have said that they get the bulletin. It's easy to grab that, whereas they're not paying for the Telegraph. Whether that's a majority of the community, I have no idea.
Is it possible that we can utilize both of those as ways that we, publish our notices? I know that adds some expense, but I imagine that probably their audience and demographic may not be the same as one another. And if, we're really working on making sure everybody knows what's going on and communicating and those types of things, I think that might be dollars well spent to make sure that, I just had a lot of people say things to me like, I didn't know that there was a hearing, or we didn't know where it was. And I think if that's something that we can do, it's probably worth exploring all of those options to better that communication.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an option. The only thing I could think of in terms of your notice for meetings is based on where, when we would need to get that information to the bulletin, whether or not we would do that within the timelines of the Open Meetings Act, where we have a couple other times that we can work with the Telegraph, but we certainly can get as much information in both papers as we need to as well. It's just the actual notice might follow the Open Meetings Act with the Telegraph as opposed to the bulletin. I just don't know from a calendar time wise, Sheila and I'd have to work together to see if that timeline works in terms of meeting the requirements of the Open Meetings Act.
Could we use one of them for our notices and one of them for our minutes? And it seems like the real expense is with our minutes, because that's where we're getting the longer period of time. So I guess if we could potentially look at that, I guess my opinion is I read the legal notices because I'm an attorney. If we do that, Skip reads legal notices because he's retired. I don't know that we actually have a lot of people that are getting those notices and seeing that and saying, oh, I should go to this board meeting tonight. Right. So I wouldn't be in support of publishing them both, just because I think we're already looking at a budget crunch. I don't think that would be a good use for funds. So I would prefer that we just pick one or use both and balance it out.
Divide that out. Yeah, so I think my recommendation would be to go ahead and list both as a paper of circulation that is as of record for North Platte Public Schools. And then when we set the time date for the committee of the whole, we bring that to committee of the whole, and then we'll formally make that decision in February about what's going into which one.
I would move to designate both North Platte Telegraph and North Platte Bulletin as district official district papers of record.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, Sheila.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blazy,
Hi.
Joanne Lynn Green,
Aye.
Skip Altick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick.
Okay, so we will now, appoint a non-discrimination compliance coordinator. And, I'll turn that over to Dr. Rhodes for some discussion on that.
So this is a requirement of Board Policy 3053 and requirement of federal law that we must annually appoint a discrimination compliance coordinator, and that meets federal equal employment opportunity requirements. Our recommendation is to appoint Mr. Kevin Mills, Human Resource Director, as the non-discrimination compliance coordinator for North Platte Public Schools.
I would move to approve Mr. Kevin Mills as the non-discrimination compliance coordinator for North Platte Public Schools.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Angela Blazy,
Hi.
Joanne Lynn Green,
Aye.
Skip Altick.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick, Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Can I get some help over here? Thank you.
You want the hard copy?
Sure.
They don't have the Title IX one, right?
Yes, okay, so now we will appoint the Title IX compliance coordinators, and I'll turn that over to Dr. Rhodes again.
Yeah, again, this is a requirement of federal law, the Title IX of federal law. And I would just mention, we keep hearing from our attorneys that the new Title IX will be coming down at some point. And every month that gets pushed back at the federal level. So one of the things we do is in our district, we appoint a Title IX employee affairs coordinator, and then we also appoint a student Title IX affairs coordinator. So our recommendation is to appoint Mr. Kevin Mills, Human Resource Director, as Title IX coordinator for employee affairs, and Mrs. Brandy Busher, Director of Student Services, as Title IX coordinator for student affairs.
Have a motion?
I would move to appoint Mr. Kevin Mills as Title IX coordinator for employee affairs and Mrs. Brady Busher as Title IX coordinator for student affairs.
I second.
Sheila.
Joanne Lynn Green,
Aye.
Skip Altick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Okay, now we will move on to setting the day and time for the committee as a whole. And this was something that we decided that in our December meeting that we were going to bring as a whole. And she talked about that.
Need to unshare, all right, unshare.
And decide when you're going to set the date and time for that. So I'll entertain some discussion. No, I'm so lucky.
Oh, you have to go.
Dr. Rhodes, do you have a recommendation as far as like timeline, what it looks like if we're gonna be meeting the second Monday of every month for a regular meeting? Do you have a recommendation?
I think really maybe to take a look at that last week of the month, and then we have a week in between the committee of the whole and the regular board meeting. Now I will tell you, in just researching what other districts are doing, some do the week before. That seems like a lot of meeting in a short amount of time. But most have a week or two in between the committee of the whole and the regular board meeting. So I think we'd recommend that last week of the month. So in terms of your discussion, you could say the last Thursday of each month or something along those lines. And because we know that some months have 4 weeks and some have 5, so you'd want to say that last Thursday if you so choose to go with that week.
Well, I was thinking of that actually Thursday. And the reason I thought that, I don't think we want to get into every other Monday or, a Monday and then another Monday couple weeks later. And I thought of Thursday, and I thought of those of you who are employed, so it would be maybe same time as we have our board meetings at 5:30. I was thinking instead of during the day like we did the old ones, that would, I think, help people that are employed. And that was the first thing that came to my mind. And I like the idea of not doing it exactly the week before. Thinks it gives us time to think about, because we're going to talk about a lot of things with a committee of the whole. I think we can talk about it. We can get input back from people if that is what happens, because sometimes that does occur, and gives us time to think about it before we would maybe make some action items at the meeting. But my recommendation would be like that last Thursday at 5:30.
Yeah, I like the idea of having kind of that week in between, because I'm sure there'll be times when we ask you and directors questions and wanting more information. Evenings, I work better for my schedule just because of important things I never know. Get scheduled pretty quickly. And so I also think we obviously live in a town where we have shift work and a lot of different things, but I think evenings for the majority of people would probably work better if they want to attend. Listen. So that would be my recommendation. I think 5:30 would be a good time. Whatever day we choose.
Any else?
Want a motion then?
I would move to set the last Thursday of each month at 5:30 for the committee of the whole.
Second.
Sheila?
Skip Alpig.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Emily Garrick. Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Joanne Lynn Green.
Aye. And it passes.
I think if I remember correctly, I think we have some language in there where we can always amend that if we find out it's not working for some reason.
Correct.
So
Yes.
revisit that.
Okay, so now we will discuss and consider approval of the proposed 24-25 district calendars, and I will turn that over to Dr. Rhodes.
Thank you. So this has been a work in progress going back to the end of September, the beginning of October, when we started to really look at 24-25. And the big changes, and Sheila, if you can bring up the calendar on the screens for me, that there are some pretty major changes with this calendar as compared to the calendar we've had for the last 2 years. We are able to start the 24-25 school year a little bit later than we did this past year for both staff reporting and for kids as well. One of the things that we really took a look at is consistency for our students in terms of our calendars. We looked at full weeks and the amount of full weeks that we had. With the calendar that we have for this school year, we have 22 full weeks of school for students. The proposed calendar for 24-25 has 27 weeks of full weeks of student days. And so we were able to increase our student days from 172 to 175.5. So when we started to put this together, we took a look at if we were going to add student days in, obviously that meant that there were going to be less teacher days out of their 185 that would be workday or professional development. And so we started to have discussions about where we were going to embed that professional development in. The 24-25 proposed calendar does have professional development days. In both first and second semester, there's a day that is strictly for professional development. And then, of course, we have the beginning of the year where we have three teacher work days. And I'll talk a little bit about how we came to those three work days in a little bit. And then we started to look at really in depth at the professional learning community concept. And for some of you that have been around education for a while, you're asking 4 questions as a professional learning community. What do you want kids to know? Which is that curricular piece, which is, so important. How do you know if they know it? Which is your assessment piece. What do you do if they don't know it? And that's our intervention piece. And this really falls under our MTSS process. And then that fourth question is, what do we do with students that do know it? And that's your enrichment piece. And so, there is some devoted sacred time in the proposed calendar for 24-25 that is really around those questions. And those are the early outs on Wednesdays. I will tell you this, as we worked with NPA leadership, one of the things we really wanted to address is we do have some professional work time. That is just teacher work time that's built into the 23-24 calendar. And we also have that 22-23 as well. And we wanted to be cognizant of that with this new calendar because there isn't as much work time, professional work time in terms of full days. So we are going to allot one Wednesday early out per month minimum as professional work time. Two of those, one in the fall and one in the spring, will fall before the Thursday and Friday parent teacher conferences. So that early out that afternoon will be teachers preparing for parent teacher conferences. The other piece of parent teacher conference is we do have noon dismissals on those 2 Thursdays, both fall and spring. And we have from noon to 4 with a lunch built in for those teachers for prepping and planning for parent teacher conferences as well. And then teachers are off at noon on that Friday as comp time since they'll have conferences until 8 those 2 evenings. And Kinsey Mulring and Lenore Weatherly are both teachers at Adams, and they represent the NPA as district leadership. We met with them in October and started to talk about this calendar. Mr. Mills and Mr. Simpson met with all the building reps in November. And then NPA sent out a survey to teachers. And out of that survey, we met with that leadership team again with Lenore and Kinsey. And they had 5 recommendations that came about from their survey. We were able to collaborate with the leadership and really 2 of the recommendations we took full on. One was adding a work day at the beginning of the year. Instead of 2, we have 3 work days. And then the other 2 we were able to modify in as well. One of those was moving professional development second semester to a February date, since January and February can be a little bit long. The other thing we're working on that may not be reflected in this calendar right now is we are looking at flex days for our teachers. And the flex days might, we're working with teaching and learning. We might have a day that is one of the 3 work days and a day after students are dismissed that teachers can flex those. They have to work one or the other. But for some teachers, they may not need as much prep to get ready for the school year. And they may want a day to kind of break down classrooms. So that's one thing we're looking at. The second thing we're looking at in terms of flex days would be at the beginning of Christmas break and at the end of Christmas break. So if I'm a teacher that wants to come back on what I think is the 23rd and finish grading, I could flex that day and then I would not need to report on January 3rd because January 3rd is a professional work time. So we'll give teachers, the flexibility to choose how they want to look at those days. We're pretty sure that we're going to do that at the semester on the 23rd and the 3rd. We're still kind of working on the beginning of the year and the last day after school. So we had great conversations with NPA. And again, we were able to collaborate, I think, in a lot of regards. The next step that we took in terms of timeline is we put a parent survey out that went out in December, and we collected survey information from parents. The survey was relatively short. It was just a pros and cons. And so we attached the proposed calendar and we asked, what do you like about the calendar? What do you don't like about the calendar? What creates some inconveniences for you? And so we actually had 287 parents respond. They represented 168 elementary, 108 middle schoolers, and 125 high school students. And so when we were breaking down that data, we were looking for themes on both sides of it. It was amazing how many times on the positive side, instructional time, more days for my kids. Really like the idea of more days in school. Now on both sides of it, vacation time or lack thereof, breaks in the school year, there were a lot of positive and a lot of, and not so many positive comments. But the positive comments actually outweighed the negative comments as it related to breaks during the school year. And again, I gave you the idea of 27 full weeks versus 22 full weeks. The other thing that came out was consistency on the positive side. There were many parents that really focused around, it's more of a consistent schedule for my student week to week to week. Now, on the negative side, as you can probably imagine, the Wednesday early outs came up, and that was the number one theme. And what do I do? You know, both of us work, both parents work. And so we had the plan all along that we were going to have support for families that absolutely could not pick up their child at 2:30. And Carrie Linneman, the director of Kids Club, is actually going to coordinate activities for those students. They won't be necessarily Kids Club students, but there'll be activities for those kids from 2:30 until 3:30 or until what would be a normal dismissal time. The supervision of those kids will be our paraprofessionals. Now, I will tell you that's something that's much different than what we had 15 or 16 years ago. We did not have any, well, Stuart, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe we kept paras on the clock during that calendar we had 15 or 16 years ago, where we had early outs on Wednesdays. The other thing I would say, we did have some negative comments. You tried this before and it didn't work. Much different with a 1:30 dismissal that we had and a 2:30 dismissal. And so we'll have support for those families. We don't want to inconvenience any of our families. We would say we're going to highly recommend that you pick your student up at 2:30. But if you cannot, then we'll make sure that we have activities that are appropriate, that we have appropriate supervision. Having said that, we met with the paraprofessional leadership right after or right during Christmas break, I guess. I think they were very thankful that they would be allowed to stay on the clock for their normal work time, just like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday. But again, Wednesdays, again, as you can imagine, were the number one. The other two that came up, kind of number 2 and number 3, were early start date. That early August start date, which again, we had some people that were thankful we're starting a little bit later than we did this past year. And then people were questioning a little bit parent-teacher conferences. And what do I do if I have students at different grade levels and those different types of things? Some like the idea of having them consistent across K-12. Some thought that was inconvenient. Interestingly enough, a recommendation from NPA was to study parent-teacher conferences. So we always collect data annually on percentages of our parents that are coming to our conferences. If this is an adopted calendar for next year, we'll keep track of that and we'll compare to see if one has a greater percentage of participation from parents as opposed to another. Now I will tell you, we talked a long time about start date and whether, quite honestly, we could move that back a week in August and maybe look closer to kind of the 3rd week of August. But what we run into, we have that relationship with Mid-Plains. And so that does affect dual credit quite a bit. The other thing it does primarily at the secondary level too, is it really puts your semester days off. And so either you ask your students and teachers, when you come back second semester, you're going to have a week of first semester that you're going to finish up, which could include finals and those different types of things. You know, when you're looking at 1 or 2 days, which every calendar has, that's okay in terms of differences between those semesters. When you're looking at 6, 7, or 8 days, it makes it hard curricularly. And of course, you know, from the standpoint of college level classes and those different types of things. The other thing that does is, you know, that historically, traditionally, we've always had graduation during Mother's Day weekend. And we did get a lot of positive comments. We love the Saturday for graduation. And so if you adjust and go a little bit later, you're losing 5-6 days with your seniors who are already having less instructional time as compared to your K through 11. So we really couldn't see a way to really start that school year any later than that. So again, following negotiated agreement, there's 185 contract days in this calendar. Compared to this past year, we had 11 full days that were contract days that were not student contact time. And I will tell you, if you look around at school calendars, that's a lot. And so we're reducing that down to 6.5 days, and we're able to then increase our student days to 175.5. Questions? I know that's a lot of information in a short amount of time. Questions for me?
So on Wednesdays, you have Paris staying until 3:30, but there won't be any kids club or anything.
Yes, kids club will go from 2:30 till their normal time.
Okay.
They are just Carrie's gonna coordinate activities.
Extra for the
Yep.
others. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
How does this affect preschool? And especially, we still have a few half-day
Yep.
preschool.
So if you look at the preschool calendar there, and I'm looking at Mrs. Douglas, there are no changes to the preschool calendar. We just really felt that 4-day week was important for our preschool teachers and the little guys. And so if you remember that the Friday of our preschool calendar, a lot of that is meeting time. It's making home contacts and all those different types of things. So this does not impact the preschool calendar at all.
How does this schedule for parent-teacher conferences impact those classes that are just quarterly classes?
And that was one of the things that NPEA had brought up. One of the things we talked a lot about is our ability to potentially use Zoom for those. We do not have scheduled conferences for term classes. And that's something we've had. You know, I will tell you that our parent participation is not very good at those conferences. Now, I would also say that anytime we can meet with parents, it's great. But in terms of your total population, and again, I'm kind of looking at Mr. Spatansky, we haven't had real good percentage participation on those term conferences. And so I just think with all the technology that we have at our fingertips, whether it be the parent portal or whether it be our rooms that we can communicate with parents, we should be communicating all those different academic requirements and grades and all those things. Now it may be more digital and virtual, but nonetheless, we need to make sure that we're taking care of that. Good question, though.
Yeah, I could see that for some teachers, and I'd say this having been a teacher that taught a quarterly class. I could just see the positioning of those dates, not having a conference during first quarter. That could be challenging, similarly with third quarter, and then having them be only a week into second and fourth quarter. I'm just thinking of, I wouldn't have even known what to say to a parent a week into a quarter.
Yeah.
You know, we spent 2 days reviewing procedures, you know, I just now know your student's name, probably not a lot to conference about at that point. So I was curious about how, you know, that looks for some of those.
No, that's a great question.
I think the other thing with this calendar too is that, and this came up during our negotiations, is that we have the 5 days at the end of the semester for those snow day makeups, which I think one of the things that the teachers requested was that rather than having days kind of scattered throughout the year where they might have to come back, we have those days allocated now where if we do have an excess number of snow days, then we'll be able to, whether students are there or not, we'll be able to finish those contract days.
Yeah, those are highlighted on this calendar. They are May 16th and then May 19th through the 22nd. Now that could change if we put a flex day in as the 16th and you either use the August 8th date or you use the May 16th date as a contract day. So it could change, but yes, we did feel it was important to highlight those. What I always fear about putting those in, and is that me, Charles? I don't know. When you put those in and then parents look at your calendar, the thing that comes to their mind is, well, if we have a snow day, that's when I potentially am going to have my student at school. And that isn't necessarily true. With 175 or 176 student days, if you lose 4 days to snow, we might have students report for 1 day, but really for the most part, the amount of student days really protects any potential for a snow day and having students report. So this is strictly for teachers and strictly associated with the negotiated agreement.
And I'm assuming that the principals are the one that's gonna monitor for the teachers if they're gonna be there or to make up the.
Well, it'll start at the district level. And then that'll go down to the building level, and very similarly to flex days as well. We'll have to figure out what that system looks like for making sure we're able to collect that data in terms of what contract days teachers are utilizing. That probably would be at the building level, since that is more work time related. We want those days, if we are doing makeup days, we want them to be beneficial for everybody. And so that's the reason when we visited at the district level, we thought, well, let's make sure if we get to that point, we're able to put some, whether it's some development or if people need to finish things up in their classrooms, we're certainly going to allow that as well. But we want it to be beneficial. We don't want teachers just to report and not have anything to do.
With those days, those makeup days at the end of the year, are teachers able to use if they want to use a personal day or something?
It's in the negotiated agreement.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect, because I know sometimes those types of days would be on the blackout list, and I'm just thinking if they don't have anything
And
to be working on, that would be useful for them.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that in the next item.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. And then I did just want to comment too, as we're discussing this calendar, I like that we're putting the focus back on educational time. I think that's a really positive change for us as a district. I think there were probably a lot of students who maybe fell behind a little bit during COVID-19 and all of that. And so putting that focus back on, I'm sure they don't all love it, but that is the reason that we're all here and invested in North Platte Public Schools, is that education they received. So.
Well, and just additionally, having had 3 students go through the high school and 1 currently there, and students who are involved in activities, I know that there have been times that my own children have experienced where they've been out of school maybe 2 days for an activity, and then when there's already an out of school day, then I've noticed that. So I think especially for some of our secondary students, this is going to be a real beneficial change. One thing that I would note is maybe as you're looking at parent teacher conferences also, where we have the no school days on the Mondays following the parent teacher conferences. I just want to, it's always kind of a gamble whether or not families are going to just take vacation and not necessarily participate in the conferences. So something just to consider for the future.
I also think it's important to note that we did take a lot of time on this calendar, and I know a lot of people were upset that it was so late coming out, but because of this, it could be more consistent throughout the years. So it's not a yearly thing, because you assured me of that at that meeting, and I thought that's great to let people know.
Yeah, I think as we evaluate this, I don't know as it's atypical necessarily. Calendars are generally approved unless they're a 2-year calendar. It's kind of a November all the way through February type thing. But you're right. And to your point, we took a little bit more time with this to try and collect some data from teachers, to collect data from parents. But if this is a calendar that seems like it's working next year, the turnaround can be much quicker in terms of bringing this to the board for adoption for 25, 26, for instance, and probably potentially is a November type of agenda item that we could put on the board agenda. Yep, good point.
I would move to approve the 2024-2025 calendars.
Second.
Roll call.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Emily Garrett,
Aye.
Matthew Peterson,
Aye.
Angela Blaze,
Aye.
Joanne Lundgren,
Aye.
Skip Altick.
Aye.
Okay, so we will move on to the request approval of the 25-26 certified negotiated agreement. And I will turn the time over to Mr. Simpson.
Thank you very much. I'm sharing my screen here with you with the master agreement. Online is Jacqueline Mraz, who was the chief negotiator for NPEA. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you very much to Matt, Skip, Angela, and Kevin for all they did for the board side. And then Jacqueline, oh, I would do that. I'm sorry, I forget. And Jacqueline,
She's right there.
I'm right here.
could you tell them your side, your people?
Oh, our people? Okay, sorry. We had Lenore Weatherly, Colette Sauer, and Kayla DeSursa for the NPA side.
I had their names written down and I totally spaced it off, but I apologize. But I appreciate all of us working together collaboratively on the negotiated agreement. I want to say the requirements by the state has school districts meeting with their union at least for 4 times before it can be approved. We were able to get this done in 4 meetings. And I'm really pleased by that. I'm really pleased that we could work cooperatively or collaboratively with it. Just to maybe go over a couple of items that are on the negotiated agreement. And I just got to get back to there. Obviously, the first and foremost one is setting the base for the next 2 years, because this will be a 2-year agreement. And I'm moving through this and I'm sorry. For the 24-25 contract year, the base will be at 41.1. And for the 25-26 contract year, the base will be 42.3. When we looked at the comparability of where our total comp would be this year compared to next year and the following year, for the 24-25 increase, it was going to be at 3.21%. And then for the 25-26 year, the increase was roughly going to be at 2.9%. That was based upon a 4% increase in Blue Cross Blue Shield. But as we know, that comes out a year from now. So until we know that piece, that's just sort of an estimate on my part. Along with that, we also know as Mr. Mills hires staff members, we don't know if it's going to be a full Blue Cross Blue Shield, a single, or something in between. So those are all variables that happen. But right now, using apples for apples, this is where we would be. First one, when we looked at the signing bonus, and in the past we had said, excuse me, when we had said we had shortage areas such as special ed or science or math, as we worked with Mr. Mills, we know that we have shortage areas in all areas of the school district. So with that, we took out the shortage and basically said, number one, anybody that is hired by the district is going to get a signing bonus, but they will receive that bonus after 3 years. So if somebody chooses to leave within the first or second year, then they have forfeited that bonus at this point in time. Now, we will say that we are going to honor the ones that signed the last 2 years, and we'll continue to pay out those bonuses over the course of the next 2 years. But anybody starting in 24-25 have to work 3 years consistently. I just want to mention one thing, and this was not on the negotiations, but it was 5.2.4 longevity. Any employee that has worked for North Platte Public Schools for 10 consecutive years and then anything after that for 5 years will receive a longevity bonus of $1,000. I'm looking over there at Nicole, but when we implemented that, when she was the chief negotiator, we did agree that anybody that had worked for the district 10 years or 11 years or whatever else this year, we we're going to pay $1,000. And then if, Cindy had worked, 14 years, next year she'd get another 1,000. But if Skip had only worked 11, then he would have to wait 4 years. But we wanted to honor everybody that had worked over 10 years, no matter what, because we felt like they were committed to North Platte Public Schools and what we're all about here in the district. So I just wanted to raise that up. I didn't want to say that we did any changes to it, but I wanted to remind the board as well as what we had worked on with NPEA. Then on 6.1, sick leave. That's Blue Cross Blue Shield. But on sick leave, I said I'm sorry. On Blue Cross Blue Shield, that was correct. What we said was, is anybody employed less than full-time would receive the allocation based upon what sick leave is. And what we did on sick leave is, instead of saying everybody gets a portion of sick leave going from 0.9 down to 0.1, we eliminated everything below a half. So if somebody inadvertently wants to only be employed 0.4% or 40%, then all of a sudden they would not receive any sick leave and or health insurance, but anybody above 50% would receive a proportionate thereof. So I wanted to make that clear. Then Dr. Rhodes mentioned and Matt mentioned within the calendar, we had inclement weather, and it's in section 7.1.2, where we talk about inclement weather. And what we did was reduce that down and really said that if it would happen that we would have to close for inclement weather, we would work cooperatively with NPEA. The administration and them would sit down cooperatively, work on the designated days at the end of the year that they mentioned are in green, or use a discretion. They would have to be able to use their discretionary leave or a dock day. And that would be under negotiations in regards to, we're going to work here, but if a teacher wanted to take something off, we'd work with our principals in regards to identifying that. On 8.2, extra duty, really all we did was minimum wage increased to 10 and I want to say 10 and a half.
12.
Right, 12 right now. Thank you. And we were at 10 and a half and now we're at 12 now. And in that, we felt like it wasn't fair to what we were doing on this one. Second of all, it makes it a little bit less of a bookkeeping nightmare. So we said we're going to raise the rate to $20 per hour for each event somebody works. So all they really have to do is turn in a time log, turn in hours they work, they get paid $20 an hour. And that will be consistent so that you don't have to worry about it when minimum wage goes up to $15 an hour. Sick leave. Sick leave and discretionary leave was a discussion that was going on. And here's the percentages that we changed it to. But we had 12 sick days this year and 4 personal days. In that, the union or NPEA wanted to discuss putting in PTO instead of personal and really do a modification thereof. And we worked out where that was a total of 16. So we split it in half. 8 are sick, 8 are discretionary. We changed the word from personal to discretionary, but leaving all the requirements in there. And then staff members, if they don't use any of their discretionary leave, will get paid $100 a day at the end. And I believe I put July. Sick leave will now only accumulate to 64, but anybody that has over 64, we're not going to reduce them down. They still get grandfathered in until they use that below the 64. And then finally, sick leave incentive was a discussion that we were having in regards to people that all of a sudden, especially when we were talking about railroaders in town, they may get transferred to another town and all of a sudden it was, just up and you got to be gone. So there was a concern about, all of a sudden getting hit with being transferred, but they have worked in the district for a number of years that would qualify them for sick leave incentive. So we put a item in there that really addressed that if they wanted to, and I'm getting down to there, 6.9.13. What we did was within there, we said that if all of a sudden somebody qualified for that, and it would be in conjunction with NPEA again, administration and NPA would work on it. We put in some qualifiers as well as if a family situation that had been worked out cooperatively with NPA and NPPSD administration, whose discretion on the question of eligibility shall be final. So basically we said that, you know, you have some qualifiers as well as if we wanted to look and say that this person got transferred, not their feeling, but they had to follow their spouse, that we would honor that, open it for 1 day, allow them to use their sick leave incentive and then close it back up. But that's on March 15th. Otherwise, I'm going to first reach out to Jacqueline. Anything else that you want to say?
I just appreciate all the cooperation between the school board and NPA working together on this. It was nice to be able to get this done quickly.
And Jacqueline's in Sutherland, obviously with the weather and everything else, she wanted to get on the road and get back home before anything. So we're pleased that you can do it. Kevin, Skip, Matt, or Angela, any additional items on the negotiated agreement?
No, it was very professional as usual. It's been going on around here for a long time. You know, we came eye to eye on everything rather quickly, and I thought it went extremely well. And I appreciate all the input that we get from NPEA on the suggestions that they have, and then what we propose, and we're able to work out everything. I thought we have a real good, solid 2-year agreement.
I think one final thing is on the discretionary leave. This will give the administration opportunity to evaluate how staff are using those and if it's working or not working, and then we can come back in at the end in 2 years when we renegotiate.
Yeah, 2 years will be a really good way to judge that, I think,
Correct.
versus 1.
I will say we will be holding a meeting for extra duty here in the next few months, just reviewing what we're paying staff members, as well as modifying it. Obviously, we have girls wrestling both at the high school and the middle school. We have baseball. So we have a few activities that are coming on board, as well as obviously minimum wage. So we want to really be able to pull a group of people together. And then in the process, that will be coming back to the board in June or July. So you can approve the extra duty portion of the negotiated agreement, and that will be attached to this document.
Right.
I would move to approve the 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 negotiated agreement.
Second.
Roll call.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Blazy,
Aye.
Joanne Lundgreen.
Aye.
Skip Altick.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
And it passes. So now we'll look at the future board calendar. We have Dr. Rhodes and I will be on the radio tomorrow morning. And we have one of the things I wanted to point out that we have coming up locally is the ESU 1516 board member workshop, and that is on January 24th at the high school. Also, another one that I noticed, well, it's on here. I just got this in the mail today, the budget and finance workshops, and I was really excited to see that there is one coming up in North Platte. So it's always nice when we don't have to travel and spare those expenses so that we can go and participate in more training. And kind of along those lines, one of the things that I would like to be able to have some further discussion on is board member workshop attendance, and just you know, maybe have some processes where we can do that a little bit more efficiently and be more budget conscious in our training. We certainly want to be able to allow people to participate in those things. It's very important to the work that we do, but we certainly want to make sure that we're doing it in a manner that's conscious of the economic situation.
And I would add, if you are planning on going to the ESU 15, ESU 16 board member workshop, please let Sheila know. She has the sign up, and then we can send that registration in to ESU 16.
And now we do have an executive session scheduled for this evening. Before we have the motion for that, I do want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. If you're traveling home, please do so safely. And we'd love to see you back next month. So I will now entertain a motion for our executive session.
I move pursuant to section 84-1410 of the reissue of the revised statutes of 1992, known as the Nebraska Public Meetings Law, that the board hold a closed session with Stuart Simpson for the purpose of discussion of the following items: collective bargaining. I further move that this closed session is clearly necessary for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals, and that strategy sessions with respect to personnel matters, real estate litigation, and collective bargaining are specifically authorized by the Nebraska Public Meetings Law.
We will move into executive session.
Do I need to roll?
Roll call.
Oh, yeah.
Matthew Peterson.
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Joanne Lundgreen.
Aye.
Skip Optic.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor. Emily Garrick.
Aye.
105, Stuart. Stuart, do you want to get 105?
If your hat's gone, it's mine. I,
Real quick, if you spelling of your.
sure, it's SHEILA. EILA, and then Furley, FURLEY.
I did not. And then would you know, I know Kevin knows that the crowd nine coordinator.
And the other is Brandy Busher,
And how do you?
Brandy like you would, BRANDY, and then Busher is BUSCHER.
Awesome. Thank you. And then you were the education.
I'm the board clerk.
Board.
I'm the board.
Just making sure I have everyone's names.
Exactly. Appreciate that. Dr. Rhodes. Now's probably a good time to tell you that I don't actually publish the minutes anymore. What I publish is above the claims is a little link to the minutes. And there was some,
That's right.
there was some talk about whether that was okay or not. And Marcia was like, well, we don't really know. And so I kept doing it that way. And honestly, like, well, and it, I mean, some of my minutes were 12 pages long. That'd be $300.
So with the early decimal form, let's say that's two.
It will be here for this next year. Now, we had early hours. They were 2 hours work session.
I move we came out of the executive session at 7:30.
Angela Blazy, Joanne Lynn, Skip Altig,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor, Emily Garrick, Matthew Peterson.
Second.
Joanne Lynn, Skip Altig,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor, Emily Garrick,